UFC Fight Night this Saturday has some amazing fights. We already talked about Ankalaev versus Thiago Santos and Marlon Moraes versus Song Yadong, but there are two fights on the main card that no one is talking about, and it's just blowing my mind. Because in these both fights, someone is going to die. Like, these two fights are so fucking crazy. I'm just pumped for them. So let's go for the first one. We have a Terrence McKinney stepping in on a short notice against Drew Dober. And who are those two? Well, let's see. Drew Dober is a solid puncher, and he only lost to very skilled guys. He only lost to Islam Makhachev and Bernil Dariush. Those guys, Islam Makhachev is going to fight for a title, and Bernil Dariush is ranked number 3. Those two guys are one of the best in the division. So you cannot take anything away from Drew Dober. And Terrence McKinney, let's pay attention to this young man. This young man is 12-3 in his MMA career, right? It's like, 12-3 doesn't sound anything amazing, anything spectacular, right? But let's listen to this. Out of those 12 finishes, 11 of them were in the first round. In the first round. Hello, for a lightweight division, for smaller guys, finishing everyone in the first round. 11 out of 12 fights winning in the first fight. In the first round, are you kidding me? That's like when prime Mike Tyson fought in the boxing. You went to a fight a little bit later in the third or fourth round, and the fight was already over. That's Terrence McKinney, and people are sleeping on him. And I think Drew Dober is a solid guy, but those two guys are gonna scrap. Terrence McKinney can submit him, can knock him out, and Drew Dober can fight back. Drew Dober can knock some people out cold. So that's the first fight that's just going under the radar, and no one is paying attention to it. I'm just absolutely baffled. And second fight, this fight is just, oh my god. Alex Pereira versus Bruno Silva. And no one is talking about it. This fight, someone's gonna die in this fight, guys. Someone's gonna fucking die. Alex Pereira is the first two-weight champion in a glory kickboxing. He's the man who defeated Adesanya twice, and one time he knocked him out cold. We all seen that footage. His debut in the UFC was KO win by flying knee. He is a fucking killer. And who is he fighting? Bruno Silva, another killer. Bruno Silva has 3 fights in the UFC. 2 of those were performance bonuses because he knocked people out cold. In between these two fighters alone, there is 23 KOs between them in their MMA careers. 23 KOs. Okay, if we count the kickboxing career of Pereira, then we have 37 KOs between them. That's absolutely astonishing number. These two guys are fucking killers. And there's a lot of narratives why is the UFC doing this fight, because usually, for example, in boxing, we see that this fighter is being groomed. He's being basically just he's fighting people who he can defeat in the beginning of his career. They will grow up until he has 20-0 or 15-0, and they put him against big money fights. UFC doesn't do that. I was kind of hoping they would just groom Alex Pereira up, giving some easy fights and potentially aim for the mega fight between Adesanya and Pereira. That could have been an absolutely mega fight. But UFC is not about that. UFC is putting the best against the best, even though it can basically demolish their careers in the beginning of their UFC run. And this fight is one of them. From this fight, one of the guys is going to sleep, because both fighters are absolute amazing strikers. Alex Pereira is probably a better kickboxer and should be probably a better striker. However, Bruno Silva is one of those fighters. He hits you in a weird way. You don't see that proper technique, but when he hits you, it just rocks your world. And that's his MMA career. He somehow it doesn't look nice. He hits you in these weird angles and he knocks people out. It doesn't make any sense. It's absolutely crazy. These two guys have this just God-given power and they will just deliver the divine punishment on each other during this fight. Don't miss this fight, because this is the first fight of the main card, and you should not miss this fight. Oh, by the way, on the preliminary card, the Chris Moutinho is also coming back. You know, the guy who took like 400 punches from Sean O'Malley and somehow just like keep coming back. You know, one of those guys. It's always fun to see one of those guys who have like this unbreakable jaw and just like you either have to choke them out or like they will just keep coming back. You know, so let's see what he's gonna do. But this fight, I mean, this fight card is just going under the radar. No one is paying attention, and there's just like 4 huge fights with huge knockout artists, strikers. There is almost no wrestlers on the card. This is going to be one of those cards for the casual fans that you should not miss. And it's going to be crazy. So, do you think Alex Pereira is going to win, or do you think Bruno Silva is going to win? I believe that Alex Pereira can win by KO. And when it comes to Drew Dober and Terrence McKinney, I think the McKinney can get it done again in the first round. I mean, this guy is just demolishing everyone in the first round, so let's just keep it rolling. If you think otherwise, or like give me your prediction in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one.